This is the Bates Bobcast, our weekly podcast where we take a look at the week that was in Bates athletics. My name is Aaron Morse, and this week we're celebrating the football team's third consecutive outright CBB series title. We also wrap up the seasons for some of our fall sports, and we talk to our Bobcats of the week. That's coming up on the Bates Bobcast. The football team defeated Bowdoin 24-7 on Saturday to win their third consecutive outright CBB series title. It's the first time the Bobcats have accomplished that feat since 1929 through 1931. The win also marks the Bobcats' sixth consecutive win over the Polar Bears, and Bates has now won or shared the CBB series title in a record 6 consecutive years. The Bobcats found themselves down 7-3 early in the fourth quarter before first-year Matt Golden connected with sophomore Marcus Ross for a 35-yard touchdown pass, giving Bates the lead for good. Golden entered the game in the second quarter after starting quarterback Sandy Plashkus went down with an injury. Junior Frank Williams ran for a 36-yard touchdown, and Golden showed off his speed with a 65-yard touchdown run to give the Bobcats their final margin of victory with just under 7 minutes left in the game. On Monday, we sat down with head coach Mark Harriman to look back at the CBB series clinching win. When Sandy went down, what were you thinking? What was going through your head, putting Golden in the game? I know he'd play a lot on special teams, but to actually play quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously Matt's done a great job, and being the backup quarterback isn't always an easy position because you literally have to prepare like you're going in on the very next play, and a lot of times that doesn't happen. So he's done a great job all year, preparing himself, and we had a lot. We have a lot of confidence in him. We certainly tried to keep it simple on him for the first couple of series, just to let him, get the butterflies out and really kind of get accustomed to what was going on. And from that point on, he did a great job. Yeah,
and what does it say about his ability that he's able to bounce back from 2 fumbles to really play great down the stretch?
Yeah, I mean, the resilience that he showed, that was, for a young guy, that was amazing because I can't think of, other people that have been in that situation, but to have a guy come in and lose the ball twice and not kind of go into the tank is really unusual. So I was really impressed with, as I said, his resilience.
When you have a sudden change like that in terms of a different quarterback entirely, do you talk with Skip much about change of strategy, or just kind of
Yeah, I mean, again, Skip and I have been together for almost 20 years now, so we were on the same page, I think, with let him get his feet underneath him, and then we'll see what happens from there. And again, I think it just kind of played out the way we wanted it to, as far as once he really started to gain some confidence and was able to, expand what we were doing a little bit more with throwing the football and then, getting the ball out on the perimeter and pitching it a couple of times and all that.
Yeah, let's talk about the touchdown pass to Marcus Ross. So you guys had run the ball 6 straight times on that drive, and then you busted out the play action deep ball. What in terms of that formation, set up, you determined that that was the time to go for it there with Ross?
Well, again, it's that whole, they if they really have to stop the run, then they need to commit more people to it, and they started to do that, and so it was really a matter of time before we were going to hit them with some play action, and that was just the right down and distance. Great call by Skip to make that call at that time.
And then Marcus told me after the game that the touchdown run by Matt surprised him even. He didn't know Matt was that fast. Did you know Matt was that fast?
We always hope they're that fast, especially on game day. But he's a really good athlete. I mean, he off his high school tape when we were recruiting him and all that, we knew that he was a very good athlete. He's one of those guys that I think's a gamer, and regardless of how fast he is, he was fast on that play, and that's all that counts.
Right, and then the defense, looking on the other side of the ball, obviously they gave up the one touchdown drive, but after that they pretty much shut down Bowdoin. Trevor Lyons, 2 more interceptions. He just seems to live for the CBB series, doesn't he?
Trevor's a big play guy for us, and he puts himself in position to make plays, and he certainly did that on Saturday, both on defense and did another great job with returning kicks, with punts for us.
And it seemed like the blocked field goal by Richardson was kind of a turning point in the game, wasn't it?
Yeah, anytime again we can take points off the board, and they had gotten a little bit of momentum moving the football on us, and for them to come away with 0 points at that time in the game was I think a huge momentum swing.
Who are some other guys that stood out to you on defense? Obviously, Mark Upton was all over the place, Max Bresci, and Sam Francis as well. Anybody else that really stood out?
Yeah, well, I think Max played the best game of the year from that perspective, and the guy that I think was a little unsung and was Jack Maritz. I think Jack did a really good job. Had some big plays for us. Had a sack and some TFLs, and really did a good job pressuring the quarterback. And then,
looking back on the offensive side of the ball, tell us about Sandy in terms of his status and what's going on with him.
Yeah, well, he's done. Unfortunately, he suffered a break on his fibula, so he's going to be done for the year.
Have him back next year for sure.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's not it's not one of those injuries that in many ways it's better than having traumatic ligament damage to have that break. They'll probably go in and put a pin in it, and it'll be healed in a couple of months.
And then just big picture for you, I mean, the CBB series, it officially goes back to 65. It really goes back to the 1800s since Bowdoin and Colby and Bates have been playing football against each other. What does it mean to you to, be able to beat these two programs 3 consecutive years, basically, and then you've had at least to share the title since the start of this new decade, essentially?
Yeah, well, again, it's a tribute to our older guys. To be, we recognize every year that our schedule's front loaded, and we need to, do everything we can to compete with the best teams in the conference. And then when you get back into the CBB play, sometimes we're a little beat up, and for the guys, especially the senior class, to come through and just really step it up, and when they needed to make plays, do it. Then it's just a great feeling, for everybody involved in the program.
And then we've talked about the Ross touchdown. We talked about Golden's touchdown run, but also Frank Williams, another touchdown run, a sweep off the right side. What opened up from that play for him?
It's one of those plays that if we block it upright, I don't want to say I hold my breath, but in a good way, because when we block it upright, there's one guy to beat. Frank can usually do that, and then it's a big play for us. So, we run that play quite a bit, and he was able to. We finally got the flank we were looking for, and got blocked up great by everybody, by the receivers, by the line, and by the guys blocking on the perimeter, and he was able to make his patented move and put it in the end zone.
And then just halftime in general, kind of a moment in time going to the half. You're down 7-3 at that point. You know that you have to use your backup quarterback for the rest of the game. What did you say to the team? What did you say to the coaches about what has to be done in the second half to make a comeback and get the victory?
I challenged them a little bit, because I personally didn't think we played to our capability in the first half. Nothing to do with the quarterback situation. Just overall, I didn't think we played with the type of intensity that we're capable of playing with. And so, I kind of challenged them a little bit to prove that they had that in them, and I thought they responded great from that standpoint. We always make a few adjustments at halftime on both sides of the ball, and sometimes it looks like you did a great job making adjustments, and sometimes you actually make good adjustments, and it doesn't look like you made any adjustments. But again, we on both sides of the ball made a few adjustments, and they seemed to work out for us.
Great. And then this weekend is Senior Day, last game of the year for that matter, against Hamilton. For you as a head coach, what is Senior Day like for you every year? Because it seems to be probably a lot of mixed emotions, right?
Yeah, it's bittersweet. I think anytime you have a group of guys that work so hard. Football's not a lot of fun. I mean, as far as what they go through in the off season, what the practices are like, and you only have 8 opportunities a year to actually go out and play the game. So the guys that hang tough for 4 years and go through this program, and it means, like I said, it's bittersweet. It's great to see them grow up and become men, but there's guys that you hate to see go away, and it's not necessarily about their football ability. It's about their their work ethic and the effort that they've put in. But it's again, we'd like it to be a great rewarding day for them, and go out and play well.
Yeah, it probably would mean a lot to establish that 500 baseline again after kind of a tough year last year, right?
Yeah, well, again, one of my messages to the team this week when we meet tonight is going to be, and not making light of the CBB, but if you look since 30 years ago, there's actually more times that Bates has won the CBB than they've won 4 games or more. So this is a huge game, and it's great that we've taken a step forward with the program, and that there's higher expectations, but. In 30 years of Bates college football, this would probably, I think this would be the 5th time that we win at least 4 games. So it's obviously the biggest game on our schedule.
Golden completed all 3 of his passes for 48 yards and a touchdown. He also ran the ball 14 times for 126 yards and a touchdown. For coming off the bench to play quarterback and leading the Bobcats to victory, Golden is our male Bobcat of the week.
So I started playing quarterback as a freshman in high school. It was a similar offense to what we run here at Bates. A lot of run, read, reading the triple option, and over the last couple of years, and especially this year, I've started to have to read pass more, and I'm just enjoying developing as a player.
Sure, and then I understand your dad is a high school football coach, but you did not play for him in high school. But what was it like having a dad who's a football coach?
Ever since I was a little kid, my dad, my grandfather, football coaches. I've always wanted to be a football coach, and I've always wanted to play football in college. And it's been a great experience this year, being able to be part of the Bates team and be able to fulfill that goal of mine that I've had.
Great. And then what about Bates appealed to you? What made you want to come up here to play?
So it was one of the few schools that I was looking at. Academic-wise, it's an amazing school, and I really like and we have a very, very solid football program, and I love the people we have in our program, and it just overall this was the best fit for me, and I'm very happy with my decision.
What part of your game have you been working on the most this year in practice and whatnot, developing as a player?
I've been improving everywhere. I think I've had to do some different things that I haven't had to do before. As far as special teams wise, that's been a great opportunity to improve all around. Just the more different things you can do, the better football player overall you can practice and learn to be. The better you can become at whatever individual position you play. So I think doing a lot of different things has helped me this year just improve overall, and that's helped me improve as a quarterback.
You've had the chance to make some tackles on special teams, right?
I'm a backup on our punt team, personal protector, and I've been able to get in on 1 or 2 tackles so far, and that's been really good. Just try to take care of my responsibility on that team and do what I can.
Great. And then obviously 1 game left in this season, and you're, for the first time this year, preparing to be the starter for this upcoming Saturday. So how does that change practice for you, if at all?
I'm looking forward to practicing this week. I think I don't think it's going to change too much, except for the number of reps. But I'm looking forward to practicing, and I'm not going to approach it any differently than I would have any other week, because any other week, like we saw last week, I could end up having to play, and so I've approached practice that way every week. So I don't think my approach to practice is going to be any different this week. Just getting ready to play if I have to, and planning on playing and being prepared to do that on Saturday.
Great. And then I know a lot of people say sometimes the biggest transition from high school to college is the speed of the game. Have you noticed any uptick in speed this year, playing, especially in the most recent game there against Bowdoin?
Absolutely, but it takes a couple plays, and it's not really something you have the opportunity to think about when you're in the game. You just have to do what you can and trust yourself, trust your teammates, trust your line to make their plays, trust the backs and receivers to make their plays, and everything has usually works out. That's what we're looking for. You got to trust your teammates, and the speed of the game is one thing, but it's something that you have to adjust to, and I think I'm comfortable with right now.
Great. Well, Matt, thanks so much for your time, and congrats again on being our male Bobcat of the Week.
Thank you very much.
Our female Bobcat of the Week is senior captain Chandler McGrath of the volleyball team. They're the only other program in action this past week, traveling to Tufts University as the number 7 seed in the NESCAC Championships. In the NESCAC quarterfinals, they took on Middlebury this past Friday, falling to the Panthers 3-1. But McGrath had a huge game, tallying a career-high 24 kills. She joined the Bobcast to look back on her season and her career as a Bobcat.
Well, first off, I can't believe how fast the season went by, and just like my 4 years in general at Bates, I think this past season marks a huge shift in the program. Starting off my freshman year, we were barely making the NESCAC tournament when getting 2 wins, and this year we go 500, beat Middlebury, who we haven't beaten 13 years, and I just think this season marks a huge shift in the program's momentum. So I'm really proud of how this season went.
Yeah, because in the middle of your career, you got a new coach, Melissa Duran. What was that like, transitioning to a new coach for the last 2 years?
I think there was a little bit of everyone was really excited to have some new leadership in the program, and I think it was obviously really great for us. And like anything, it took some time to grow into this new kind of leadership, and we've had our ups and downs the past 2 years, but I think especially this year it finally clicked for us, and I think Melissa's going to do great things for the program in the future.
And one kind of cool thing is you all only lost once this year at home. It seems like you really enjoyed playing Alumni Gym, especially this year, right?
Yeah, we always get a nice little crowd at Alumni, and we play so much better for our fans when we're playing for our fans, and Alumni's home for me, so we feel comfortable there, and obviously we can succeed when we're home. Just got to translate that over to our away matches.
And then in the NESCAC Championships against Middlebury, obviously a very good team. What was it like to play them again so soon? Did you see them make any adjustments in that match?
Middlebury definitely adjusted according to our offense. They played great defense, and I think coming off our win the weekend before, we were really excited, and I think there was a mental shift for us, which was the most important. There wasn't a huge change in our skills in the week leading up to the tournament. It was honestly just a mental shift of, we beat this great team. We are this great team. Let's go in and do this during the tournament. And I think during the Middlebury game in the tournament, we had a couple moments where we kind of lost sight of that mentality. But I think towards the end, we really fought, and we gave it all we had.
Yeah, and you had, obviously, as I mentioned before, a career-high 24 kills. Was that just a product of the circumstance, or oh man, it's going to be my last match, I gotta go extra?
I think it was a little bit of both. It was halfway through the game, and I realized I was why am I being so timid about this? I'm just going to go hard as much as I can. This could be my last game, so might as well give it all I got. So I just started swinging away, and it actually turned out really well for me. So
yeah, and then obviously, your teammates and everything, what's it been like growing with the rest of the senior class over these 4 years?
We've been through a lot as a senior class. We've been through a lot of leadership changes, coach changes, just our own kind of dealing with ups and downs within the team itself. And I think as a class, we really wanted to come together and lead the team in a very different way than we've been led the past 4 years. we wanted to create an environment where everyone on the team felt included and comfortable, which is something that hasn't always been a part of our team dynamic. So I think we really tried to change the mindset of the program in terms of like that, as well as like the mindset in terms of what we can accomplish in NESCAC. There was never a moment where we were scared to play a team because of the name on their shirt, right, which is, I think, is the most important thing for Bates going forward.
Now, for you, what's next? I mean, obviously, you have to finish up here at Bates and graduate and everything. What are your plans in the near future, you think?
For myself, I'm looking into possibly going into some sort of research program looking into like learning disorders, and so I'm a neuroscience major, so I'm really interested in like mental illness and learning more about that. So hopefully after Bates I'll find myself somewhere there. Okay, great. And then I imagine you'll probably be following the volleyball program very closely in the next few years, right? Oh, definitely. It was so funny. One of our seniors the night before a game was like, I know it seems like it's going to be your last game, but it's really not. Like, even after you leave Bates, like Bates volleyball, we're a family and we all stay in touch afterwards. And it's so true because we have alums come back for almost every game from all different places of the country. So you can't get rid of us that easily. We'll be back. All right, Chandler, thanks so much for your time and congrats again on a great career here at Bates. Thank you so much, Aaron.
It's time to look back on the soccer and field hockey seasons. The men's soccer team finished their season with a 6-7-2 overall record, including a pair of NESCAC victories, along with one draw. Head coach Stuart Flaherty joined the Bobcast to reflect on their year.
Wrapping up the men's soccer season here on the Bobcast with the head coach of the Bobcats, Stuart Flaherty. And first of all, Coach, obviously this year started off a hot start for the men's soccer team, kind of slumped in the middle of the season, then picked things up near the end. What, if anything, did you notice throughout the year in terms of was there any different in terms of the way you guys played, adjustments you guys made on and off the field?
Yeah, I think that's a fairly accurate statement. We did start very well. We came out and we won 2 of our first 3. We didn't really change the shape much during the season. You know, we had one day we went to a 4-4-2 because we thought something would work and it didn't. And we hit a run where, you know, I think it was 2 draws in 7 games maybe, and we didn't get a win. So that presents some challenges. I think the one promising thing that showed throughout the year is the work ethic and the mindset of the kids. I mean, we scored goals to tie or win the game in the last 5 minutes of the season on 3 separate occasions, which obviously speaks to physical fitness, but also speaks to determination and wanting to get something done. And that run where we didn't have many wins, there was a draw at UNE where Matty DeVito equalised in the 86 minutes, and there was a draw at Bowdoin, who were the league champion, and we equalised via Nate Merchant in the 86 minutes. So it certainly wasn't for any, internal locker room issues or any lack of work ethic. The fact is, a couple of times we played well and had an unlucky break. A couple of games in particular, we had a bounce of the ball where something goes our way, we win the game, and it went against us and we lose it. And sometimes we didn't have a good day against good opposition, and this game can punish you. But I think it's very telling that we win 3 of the last 4 games, including a team in Thomas who will likely be heading to the NCAA tournament, and Middlebury, who were ranked 15 in the country the day we beat them in overtime.
Excellent. And then, in terms of individual players, obviously the goalkeeper gets a lot of attention. Robbie Montanaro is a sophomore starting in the goal. What was your evaluation of his performance this year?
Yeah, I thought Robbie had a good year, for sure. Yeah, I mean, there was games he was under a lot of pressure. If I look back to the games when we went to Tufts and we went to Wamhurst, the run of the game was such that he was pressed under a great deal of strain. But, he came up with a lot of big saves. We've got some things like every player on the team. We have some areas of his game that we want Robbie to improve, and we'll talk to and work with Robbie on them. But that doesn't put him in a different position to anyone else in the roster. I think every sophomore should have a mindset where they want to be better as a junior as they were as a sophomore, and even better as a senior. So we just sort of start the cycle all over again with Rob. He definitely improved from his freshman year to his sophomore year, and now we start again from the base and try and get him to be a better goalkeeper in his junior year.
Who were some players who maybe surprised you in a good way in terms of played maybe above expectations this season?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I'm surprised by any of them because you never know what you're going to get out of your 28 guys, but there is a ceiling that every kid has, and you've got to be optimistic as a coach, and you've got to see the best case scenario for every player. So I mean, obviously Nate Merchant coming off 1 or 2 goals last year and hitting 7 this year. I mean, that is absolutely a spike, but I wouldn't say I'm surprised by it because when we recruited Nate, we thought he could be an all-conference level player. We thought he could get goals and we thought we could get assists. I mean, it's certainly fantastic that he's gone out there and done it. Matty DeVete is another one. I think the big thing with Matty is Matt had a real rough ride injury-wise during his first 3 years, so his stats weren't quite reflective of the player he is. I mean, this is a kid who in his U17 club season is playing in and winning national championships and regional championships with PDA from New Jersey. So, again, not surprised by it, but it's certainly nice that those 2 boys, I believe, showed their potential and, reached a peak during the fall.
Now we're into the off season. It's just recruiting, right?
Yeah. I mean, I taking the seniors out for dinner next week. Certainly very grateful for what they've done. We've got our awards voting that I haven't tallied up yet. Maybe I should do it today on election day. Maybe that would be fitting, and see who wins the team votes for MVP and Rookie of the Year and things like that. We have Mike Seltzer around to help them with any off-season, but yeah, they'll have a bit of time to decompress now, and I'll be going to the GPS Thanksgiving tournament in Mass. Be going to Disney Showcase in Florida, which is a welcome change of location when we get to the end of December. And yeah, we'll look for the next Peebo North, and we'll look for the next Matt DeVete.
All right, sounds like a plan. Stuart Flaherty, thanks so much for recapping the men's soccer season with us.
Thanks, Aaron.
The women's soccer team finished their season with a record of 5-9-1, including a win and a draw in NESCAC play. Assistant coach Amanda Hamilton looks back on her first year with the program and the season overall.
Your first year as assistant coach, fresh out of college, what was the experience like for you?
It was a transition, but I think, with the help of Kelsey Ross, our head coach, she made it a really easy transition. She gave me, a lot of responsibility, which was great. And, she was really supportive. The girls were great. It wasn't, she just graduated. She's so young. I think, they respected me and my soccer knowledge, which made it a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So, yes, it was an all-around really great experience, a great learning experience. Yeah.
And what were some of the responsibilities Kelsey gave you?
We worked close with recruits. I did a recruiting camp for Kelsey over the summer, just staying in contact with our recruits overnights, planning some technical sessions for the girls, a lot of little things, that Kelsey has a lot on her plate, so I think, I just kind of step in for the touch of help every once in a while.
What was maybe the biggest surprise that you maybe weren't expecting being an assistant coach, your first year? Because I know obviously you played college soccer, so you're familiar with Division III level and everything, but maybe one thing that surprised you.
I think something that surprised me was that I felt even a little more competitive than I thought I would as a coach. I thought I might, lose my competitive edge as an assistant coach. But I think if anything now, the wins are just that much more exciting, because you can't physically get out there and do it for them. But it's just as exciting when they win, for you to be able to cheer on the sideline and think to yourself, well done,
Yeah, and give us an idea of actually during the match what you're doing out there on the sideline with Kelsey.
So a lot of during the game, what I have one specific job that I do during the game is just, write down the opposing team's starting lineup, write down some of their weaknesses, some of their strengths, offensively and defensively, take a few notes on their goalkeeper. And then, we reconvene at halftime. But I mean, Kelsey kind of gives me a lot of, she loosens the reins in terms of letting me get involved during the game and give the girls direction, while she's talking to someone on the sideline. She always asks for our input during halftime. So, I mean, it's a pretty cohesive. I mean, it's a great cohesion between the coaches, and we're all really open with, what we're feeling during halftime and things like that.
Excellent. Last match of the year was against Colby, and obviously the team was looking for that first NESCAC victory, and they got it in double overtime, right? How exciting was that?
I mean, that was it was an out-of-this-world feeling, and I think if, of course, for a neighboring Maine school, the rivalry was that much more, fiery. But I think, I think if anything, after a season of trials, for the girls to go out, give it their all and come out with the result, which, we had struggled with. We had put the effort in and the heart was there, but we weren't getting the results that we wanted. But we finally got the result against Colby. And And it gave, we had a great class of seniors who just, were great leaders on and off the field. And I think for them to, end the season on a high note and for us to be on the up and up come 2017 season was really important.
And then soccer, maybe for the untrained eye, soccer looks like there's a lot of randomness involved. Would you agree, disagree with that statement?
I think that soccer is a game of consistency, or, I think the successfulness comes from being able to be consistent in your hard work and your training. And, with the NESCAC, which is one of the most competitive D3 leagues in the nation, I think that consistency is key to a team's success. And, I think coming off of such a successful year last year, Kelsey being coach of the year and going 500 in, NESCAC and being able to move on to the tournament was a huge step for the program. And it's hard to continue that consistency. So, going forward, that's kind of our little motto. It's just like consistency and, staying strong in our off-season training.
Who were maybe a couple of the players who stood out to you this year as someone who really did a nice job for the team and from your point of view as a coach?
We had returners who just gave it their all. Our two captains, Allison Hill and Aaron Shea, just, came in every single practice, whether it was a lift or, just a small technical session. They were always there, heart and soul for the program, which is so commendable. Dual athletes. And, Allison's an All-American, and, it just shows through her effort. Aaron's just a gritty kid. She gets after it. But, other than seniors, we had, Olivia Emder returning, who was, an all-NESCAC pick last year, and she just did great things for us on the flank, and she just brings so much energy, and, her fitness level is out of this world. But we also had, another junior that stepped in really hard, McCarthy. Sarah McCarthy, our keeper, just had an unbelievable year, and, the numbers don't really speak for the nonstop effort that she put in from the back. She's made some incredible saves for us. Then we also had first year Mackenzie Kelly. You had interviewed previously earlier in the season, and she was all over the place, and she did a great job for us in the back. And we had a lot of people who took on new roles this season, and they did well with what we had. And with the trials again, they did well collectively.
Great, and now it's the off season. So what are you doing now? Just helping with recruiting, or what's the mission in the off season?
So right now we do a lot of recruiting base. We just set our 2017 schedule, which is exciting. And other than that, we get ready for our clinics. We have a winter clinic and a spring clinic. We'll go on some recruiting trips. A lot of it, logistics, of course. Planning, next season's trips, where we're going. Roster sizes, things like that. And, of course, the girls' off-season training plans and, their lifting plan. And so, from here, we kind of put it in their hands, with NESCAC. We don't really have a spring season, so they're kind of on their own, and we leave it to their commitment and dedication, trust piece.
Excellent. Amanda Hamilton, thanks so much for joining us and talking about the women's soccer season.
All right. Thanks, Aaron.
The field hockey team finished their season with an overall record of 9-7 and an appearance in the NESCAC Championships quarterfinals against Tufts. Their 9 wins are the most for the program since 1999, and head coach Danny Ryder looks back on their year.
First of all, Danny, tell us about the NESCAC Championships going down there to play. We haven't talked to you since. So how would you evaluate the team's performance in the game? Came up a little bit short, but it sounds like kept the game pretty close.
Yeah, the game was very close, and we definitely left the game disappointed to not get the win, but we had a very good season, and we definitely got to a place this year where we were competitive in postseason and not just satisfied just to get there, so a huge step for our program. We did play very well. We had our chances. We had some really good number-up chances. Unfortunately, just didn't fall for us, and in other games it had. So we just have some work to do on that end, but it was a good game.
And it must be nice, at least as a head coach, since you didn't have any seniors, you don't have to say goodbye to anybody, right?
Yeah, and that's actually the conversation we had at the end of the game is we're in this very rare opportunity for our team, and a lot of college teams never experience this. I think it's pretty unusual to not graduate any seniors, and so we don't have to say goodbye to anyone, but with that there's an incredible amount of responsibility on our current student athletes to continue to move the program forward because they don't have to say goodbye to anyone, so there's really no no other option than to be better next year, because technically we're turning a more mature, more skilled team next year. So that's what we've talked about.
And who are some players, maybe, I mean, we know about all the goal scorers, whether it be Jesse or Taylor. Who are some players who maybe don't get the publicity through goals who really stood out this year for you?
There were several. Delaney and Sam in the backfield just did a phenomenal job holding down that area of the field really well, and they just have incredible tackles and a lot of poise under pressure. So they're really big for us back there. Adelaide, towards the second half of the season and certainly in those last couple of games, stepped up huge as a sophomore goalkeeper. She didn't get minutes last year, so this year was really her debut for the program, and she steadily progressed throughout the season. Those last couple of games, we saw a really bright light back there of what she's capable of and what's to come for her. And then in the midfield, we had several first years who really, really stood out as well, Alexa and Grace. Grace ended up coming up for us really big towards the end of the season because Caroline O'Reilly got a concussion in our game versus Middlebury, which put her out for our last 2 games. And so Grace really stepped in as that center midfield role and did a really phenomenal job and actually impressed us quite a bit. So, there's a lot of big contributors, I think, all across the field, which is why we had so much success.
Great. And then obviously you're goalkeeper yourself, and so how do you work with the goalkeepers here at Bates? Specifically, what does Adelaide need to work on, to improve? Because obviously everyone has room for improvement.
Yeah, sure. So we work with them daily at the beginning of practice, where typically Katie will take the field players and run them through some stick and ball work, working on their wrist speed, their receptions, some of the finer details of their positions, and then I'll work with the goalkeepers. And really, I think Adelaide is an incredibly smart goalkeeper, and she really understands the game well and understands where she wants her defense and what's going to make her successful. And she has great hand-eye coordination, and I think the biggest thing for her to work on is now finding that balance between communicating with her defense and having a lot of her attention going towards that, but then still being able to focus on the ball and the play. There's so much for her on her plate, and she really progressed really nicely this year, but I think that's something college goalies can struggle with because they're used to just having to pay attention to stopping the ball, and that's their one role in high school, and then they jump into the college game, and all of a sudden they have to be controlling their defense, stopping the ball, moving their defenders around appropriately, and there's just a lot to pay attention to.
4th year as the head coach of the program, so basically you're now, you've seen all your recruits coming through, basically. Do you really feel like you've truly put your stamp on this program? What do you want to see it develop even further next year, perhaps?
Yeah, this year was very exciting to have a team of all of our recruits, and I think it was exciting that led to our best season since '99. So that was really rewarding for our coaching staff, for the team to get that accomplishment. But moving forward, I think one thing that we've learned about our team, and I've known about myself, and I know about Katie, our assistant coach, is that we don't get overly excited about milestones. We're all very competitive people, and our team goes out there to win, and they work really, really hard to do so. And so it's exciting, and we're constantly reminded of those milestones, and we have phenomenal parents in our program who are just always celebrating those milestones. So it's nice to get to enjoy those with them, but I think as a group we're always hungry for more, and that's one thing I really, really love about the team that we have, is that they're not satisfied, and that's something that you can't create. That's just a culture that they came and they put into the program. So
great. And then obviously we're into the off season now. Obviously there's work to be done in the off season as well. So what do you do at this point in the year to continue to work to grow the program?
Sure. So just this week and next week, because we still are within our season where we can practice, we don't do anything on the field, but we get the team back in the weight room, and we really make sure that they're lifting properly and they have a strong foundation so that when they leave our eyesight, we know that they're doing things correctly, because we don't want them spending the next couple months thinking that they're training correctly, but then having improper form or not using the weight room appropriately. So we just really take this opportunity to make sure that all their ducks are in a row and they're good to go on their own.
All right, great. Well, Danny, thanks so much for your time and recapping the field hockey season with us.
Thanks, Aaron.
Next time on the Bates Bobcast, We'll recap the cross-country team's performances at the NCAA Regionals, which are set for this Saturday. And we'll let you know how the football team fares against Hamilton on Senior Day this Saturday at Garcelon Field. Kickoff is set for noon. Plus, we'll preview some of our winter sports. That's next time on the Bates Bobcast.